Honorables membres du comité, je constate qu'il y a un quorum. Je dois informer les
honorable members of the committee. I know that there is quorum. I must inform the person responsible, the clerk of the committee. Alors, la greffière ne peut recevoir des motions en fait de règlement et participer aux délibérations. Étant donné le règlement 106.2, le président doit être membre du parti au pouvoir. Je suis prête à recevoir des motions pour le poste de président ou de présidente. Madame Khalid.
Clerk, it's wonderful to see you again. I think in the last session, we elected a wonderful chair who guided us, who was balanced in, and I'd really like to continue with that chair. I nominate Mr. Peter Fonseca to retake the position of chair for our committee.
Thank you very much, Ms. Khalid. It's been nominated by MP Khalid that MP Fonseca be elected as chair of the subcommittee. Are there any further motions? Is it the pleasure of the subcommittee to adopt the motion? Okay, I declare the motion carried and MP Fonseca duly elected as chair of the subcommittee. And MP Fonseca, I will turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Clerk, and I want to thank Ms. Khalid for nominating me, and to all the members, and I look to everybody here on the screen. I've had the opportunity to work with many of you in different committee work and parliamentary work, and it's a real honor to be able to continue to chair this committee. I know we've had some previous chairs. I believe Mr. Reid, you were a chair for quite a long time, and we've heard of all the great work that you've done on this committee. Also, Ms. Vandenbeld has been a chair. I'm not sure if I'm missing anybody else that's been a chair, but I know everybody has participated in a very fulsome way on this committee. And when I say it is a special honor, is because this is a very special committee. I know Mr. Chu would be new to the committee. I believe everybody else, and Mr. Reid returning back to this committee as a member. Everybody that has sat on this committee understands how special it is because of the way that it works in a very nonpartisan consensus finding manner. And I think that has helped us maneuver through some very challenging files and issues where we're all able to roll up our sleeves and work so well together. I believe that we will continue to work in that vein, and therefore with that harmony, I'm sure that we are going to be able to get a lot more good work done here in Parliament, and be able to dig into files that are important to our communities, to our country, and to our standing in the world. So on that, I think the clerk, and thank you, clerk, and of course, and the analysts that we have with us, because they are really the backbone of this committee and serve us so well. I thank all of you, and our interpreters that are helping us right now, as for those that are not bilingual like myself, are able to support us with their good work. So I think at this time, clerk of the subcommittee agrees that we'll proceed with the election of the vice chairs.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I will, pursuant to Standing Order 106.2 and the motion adopted by the Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs and International Development, the first vice chair must be a member of the official opposition. Je suis maintenant prête à recevoir des motions pour le...
I'm now ready to receive motions for the first vice chair.
I wonder if I could nominate Mr. Chu for that.
Thank you. It has been moved by Mr. Reid that Mr. Chu be elected as first vice chair. Are there any other nominations? Is it the pleasure of the subcommittee to adopt the motion? Thank you. I declare Mr. Chu duly elected as first vice chair of the committee. I will go on to the second vice chair.
Could I put a nomination forward, please, Erica?
Absolutely, Ms. McPherson. Please go right ahead.
I would like to put forward the name of MP Brunel Doucette, please, as our vice chair.
Thank you. Il est proposé par Madame.
It is proposed by Ms. McPherson that Mr. Brunel Doucette be elected second vice president of the subcommittee.
Is it the pleasure of the subcommittee to adopt the motion? Je déclare la motion.
I declare the motion adopted and Mr. Brunel Doucette is duly elected second vice president.
Clerk, should I commence?
Please go ahead, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
well, thank you very much. And just before we proceed to the consideration of routine motions, and I'll ask those that put their hands up, and I'll be able to see you on the list, and I'll go by those that in order of raising your hand. So, but before we get to that, some of you, or maybe all of you, have already gone through these virtual settings. And through committee, but I'm going to just go over kind of some of the rules and how it works so that we could be as efficient as possible. So before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. When you're ready to speak, you can click on the microphone icon to activate your mic. If a member wishes to speak in debate, they should use the raised hand function. This will signal to the chair your interest to speak. In order to do so, you should click on participants at the bottom of the screen. When the list pops up, you will see next to your name that you can click raise hand. So everybody should be able to see that. Can I just see a nod of heads? Everybody can, yep, okay, that's all good. Terrific. When you are not speaking, your mic should be on mute. So you're aware the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. I'll now open the floor for discussion of routine motions. And I see Mr. Zuberi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Congratulations to you and all the vice chairs on your election. I'm really looking forward to this committee and resuming our activity that we had last Parliament, or I should say last session of this Parliament. So I have a series of routine motions that I'd like to present for us to adopt. I'd like to start off by saying that in the last session of this Parliament, we adopted as a committee unanimously a series of routine motions. I'd like us to re-adopt them with the exception of one motion, which is dealing with the questioning of witnesses. For that, we did adopt a routine motion last time. In the interest of ensuring that we have adequate time, given that we're currently on a new platform, which is Zoom, and we know that from experience that there are sometimes some minor hiccups that do occur, sound checks, people logging in, bandwidth issues, etc., that we just slightly adjust that. So in order to make things equitable, so that everybody can ask a question in this committee. So we can all ask our questions. We also know that witnesses, the real meat of the testimony comes out in the questions and answers. And that's where we really get a very rich exchange, a very solid exchange that helps inform us as a committee. So what I'm suggesting with respect to the questioning of witnesses, that in the past we actually allowed for the questioning of witnesses to be 10 minutes. The opening statement, I should say, to be 10 minutes. I'm proposing that instead of 10 minutes, we have witnesses opening statements at 5 minutes, and then continue with the remainder of the routine motion as it was intact as we voted upon it last time. However, we recognize your discretion as chair and the discretion of vice chairs when they are in your place. The discretion of the chair to shepherd the conversation and if appropriate, if you deem it appropriate, to allow for longer time for the opening statements. So just to sum up, I propose that we re-adopt the routine motions from the previous session, that we all agreed to last time, with one exception, that instead of having the opening statement of 10 minutes for witnesses, that it be reduced to 5 minutes, and that we allow the discretion of the chair to determine if it should go on longer or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zuberi. And I see Mr. Reed has his hands up, and then Ms. McPherson. Did you use the hand?
No, but I'm going to right now.
Okay, great. Okay, so Mr. Reed, and then discussion on this, and then Ms. McPherson.
Well, the first thing I would do is just ask Mr. Zuberi if he has an actual wording. I'm not sure if the discretion part that he's describing is actually part of the motion or is merely an encouragement as to how we ought to behave, a sort of general friendly direction to our chair. But I wonder, could I just go back and have him answer that question, Mr. Chair, and then I'd like to come back, depending on what he says, and offer some commentary.
Mr. Zuberi?
Yes, so the wording would be exactly the same as last time, except that we would strike out 10 and replace it with 5 minutes, and that we add on one sentence which saying that the above be at the discretion of the chair.
Okay.
I'm just going to weigh in. Just my understanding is that so if a witness is, maybe we're seeing they're coming to a conclusion, but they may go a minute over or something, that we would have the flexibility to be able to provide that time.
Exactly.
Okay. So now I can comment on that. Yeah, I appreciate the fact that wording was put in, Mr. Zuberi. That makes a big difference. If it was not there, I think the danger would be we could be too mechanistic. I know my own experience. I chaired this committee for 8 years, I think, 7 years maybe. And what I found was there's two kinds of witnesses. You may already have discovered this. Number one, there's people who are United Nations officials or other types of people who are polished professionals, members of the public service. They will practice and get everything down, time themselves in front of the mirror or with a stopwatch. Then you get people who are here talking about my experience when I was imprisoned and or when I was tortured, that kind of thing. And the rule I always had was you don't interrupt something like that. And it was back when we had 10 minutes. You had to give people the time, which was often an extraordinarily traumatic experience they'd gone through. So what I'm really saying here is I guess my way of saying, I hope others will agree with me, and Mr. Chair, you in particular, I hope will agree with me that when we have that kind of witness, we exercise a very considerable generosity extending to more than just 1 minute. This is is a big deal for those folks.
I think I'm seeing all heads nod in the same direction. Yes, agreed. Okay, and okay, so Ms. McPherson.
Yes. So I was going through some of the routine motions. The one that we're talking about right now in terms of witnesses, I do appreciate Mr. Zuberi's intervention, and I think that having the 5 minutes is good. And I, of course, agree with MP Reid that there should be that discretion to be empathetic and to recognize the challenges some of our witnesses will have with that 5 minutes. However, I would like to also say that I would like to also amend it to add that wherever possible, witnesses provide committee with their opening statements 72 hours in advance. That does provide us with some support, not necessarily for those that are speaking about their own personal experience. As those of us that were on the committee last session know, some of the statements could not have been put into a written statement, and we would not have wanted that. But when possible, I think it would be good to have that 72 hours in advance to be able to hear and think through our questions, I guess, a little bit better. And then following that, in terms of the allocated time for each question, at the moment, my understanding is that it is 7. Let me just get this up. Just to be clear, I think it's that we have 7 minutes for the first questioner of each party, and then thereafter be 5 minutes allocated to each subsequent questioner, alternating between government and opposition parties. And just to ensure that the Bloc and the NDP actually do get a second chance to ask questions. I'm wondering whether or not it would be possible to change that, allocating between government and opposition to a list like the Liberals, Conservatives, the Bloc, NDP. That's what I would like to propose.
Okay, is that where you were putting on the table, Mr. Zuberi, in terms of allocation of time to parties?
So for the allocation of time, that's a friendly amendment, and also with respect to the 72 hours, that's friendly. So if you propose it as friendly, I'll accept it as such.
I propose it as friendly.
It is.
Okay, well, wonderful. And I just wanted to say there are some witnesses that may not be able to put forward their deputation, their submission, their testimony 72 hours before. We understand that they may be last minute or for whatever other circumstances they may not be able to do that. We would still bring them on as witnesses, but not have their testimony before us in writing. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. And so now we're moving now to Mr. Brunel Duceppe. Now, just before that, I do have a twin here on the screen. Yeah, identical twin there, Ikra Khalid or Peter Fonseca, Ikra Khalid or Khalid switched. They gave us both the same name there. But Ikra, if you want to take my name, I'd be honored. Yeah. But
I don't know how to change it.
Yeah, so someone could fix that. I don't know if the IT
It's a really
people
awkward
are on
proposal there, Peter.
I don't know if the IT people are on, but it does say I don't know if everybody can see it. I see my name under Ikra's screen there. And but we are going to move, as they tried to fix that, to Mr. Brunel Duceppe, and then after that, Mr. Chu.
Non, ben en fait, Heather a été plus rapide que moi.
Heather was faster than I was with regard to the speaking time for each party. I think we'd already discussed this in the past, however, and in fact, we were looking to have a transpartisan committee. That is, everybody would have an equal chance to speak. Heather's made the move already. What we're ultimately looking for is that everyone have a chance to speak in a fair way.
You know, I think we all agree. We agree with that. So what we're trying to find is to build in that opportunity and flexibility with this new allocation to be able to make that happen. But thank you, Mr. Brunel Duceppe. And now we'll move to Mr. Chu and then Ms. Khalid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think in principle,
and congratulations. Sorry.
Oh, thank you, and congratulations to you too. Sorry.
Moi aussi, je veux vous les féliciter, Monsieur le Président.
I also wanted to congratulate you, Mr. Speaker. I forgot to mention it. Chair, rather.
I think in principle we do agree with the amendments that's been proposed. The only concern I have is with the 72 hours requirement that we apply the same discretion, you know, that we have shown in the speech limit, the opening statement limits, because a lot of our witnesses may not be professional, as MP Reid has said. They may not be able to provide the written statement within a 72 hours window. And secondly, we support the arrangement so that the NDPs and the Bloc will have the ability to speak as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chu, and I think we are all in agreement with that. Ms. Khalid.
Thank you, Chair. You know, like over the past 5 years that I've been sitting on this subcommittee, what I appreciate most about it is that we are a consensus-based committee, and that in the past, all chairs, including you, Mr. Chair, you've been very fair with your allocation of time. And as a subcommittee, we only have a really short chunk of time. And I've seen that you know, whenever we're running out of time, that we divide whatever time is left quite equally amongst all parties, making sure that everybody gets the opportunity to speak. And so I understand and appreciate the concern of everybody that's just raising it here. But I'm hoping that we'll continue with our tradition of consensus. I'm hoping that we will continue to work together quite collaboratively. And I think the language that Mr. Zuberi's proposed with respect to at the discretion of the chair to be at the bottom of the motion should take all of that into account. So I'm happy that we're hoping to move forward in a consensus basis, and I know that you'll do the right thing with respect to time allocation, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Khalid. I don't see any other. Does anybody else want to speak to the routine motions? No, I don't see anybody. So what I can, from what we've seen already over the last number of minutes, is that we are working in that consensus-based approach, and we've taken a great first step. So we will continue to do that. But as I'm seeing consensus and adoption of those of the routine motions, yes. So yeah, looks like kumbaya, harmony here. And so clerk from here, I don't know where we move to. I'm just looking to you, and is that to have other discussion about any other future business, or is there something prior to that that needs to be brought in?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just did want to double check with the members of the subcommittee really quickly to make sure that I had everything recorded properly. If I could reread the questioning of witnesses motion that I have so that I'm sure that everyone understands the same thing. So it would read that at the discretion of the chair, witnesses be given 5 minutes for their opening statement, that at the discretion of the chair during the questioning of witnesses, there be allocated 7 minutes for the first questioner of each party, and that thereafter 5 minutes be allocated to each subsequent questioner, alternating between government and opposition parties. I think that part stays the same. And that wherever possible, witnesses provide their statements 72 hours in advance. Was that everybody's understanding? Mr. Chair, I believe Ms. McPherson has something to say.
I believe our chair may be frozen.
I believe our chair may be frozen. So in that case, while we get him sorted, Mr. Chu, since you are the first vice chair, would you be able to suspend the meeting until we get him back, please?
Okay, let's suspend the meeting until we have the chair back.
Thank you so much.
The only thing that I wanted to clarify in what the clerk had put forward is it was my understanding that it was 7 minutes for each party and then 5 minutes for each party, not 5 minutes alternating between government and opposition.
Mr. Zuberi?
Yes, that was friendly.
Okay. So
Okay.
that we have clarification.
Okay, so it would read, and that thereafter 5 minutes be allocated to each subsequent questioner in the following order: Liberal Party, Conservative Party, Bloc Québécois, NDP, and that wherever possible, witnesses provide their statements 72 hours in advance.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, now is that all you needed, Clerk?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, wonderful. And so now we have Mr. Reid.
Mr. Chair, I was hoping, now that we've dispensed with those matters, to deal with a little bit of looking ahead as to what we might be doing. Is it appropriate to do so at this time, or is my timing off?
We can. I think we do have some time. Mr. Reid, what we can do, though, because as you know, and you brought up, some of the witnesses that have come forward have talked about the very serious issues that at times privacy is of concern and is paramount. So the clerk has set up for us, I believe, a way that we would be able to go in camera to discuss those. And so if it's something that you feel that we would want to be in camera that you may be bringing forward, then I think that it would be best we do that.
You know what? I don't think it's necessary, but out of an abundance of caution, it can't hurt to do that. So why don't we go in camera?
Okay. So how it's going to work, Clerk, if you could walk us through.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this meeting will end. You will all be kicked out of this Zoom meeting. I'm going to send around a new link and a new password. I will also send it to your indicated staff who will be supporting you through the in-camera portion of meetings. So once this meeting ends, please give us about 5 minutes and then you can try and log on to the new meeting.
So this will be a good trial for us too to go through this process. Okay, so I guess we're all going to log off and then we're going to get a link to our P9s and then log back on. I see you shortly.
you.